we go. Welcome to the Prosperity Project. We are live. Nikki Thomas here, and we have quite the interesting show today. So the Prosperity Project is where we give you the breakthroughs you need to unleash your healthiest, wealthiest self, and self is where we always start. So if we're just meeting or if we don't know each other yet, Nikki Thomas, I am a Bay Area radio personality, also a digital creator. And the creation of Prosperity Project kind of came about as an anchor or a place or a focal point where we can come together and get all of these breakthroughs and reminders that we need to make the changes that we want to make in our lives. Darnaro Evans is in the building, as usual. I always feel, so light and free in my spirit, Darnaro, when I see that you are here with us. Welcome, my honey. Please share the video. Please share the video because today's show is really a real treat. And I'll tell you more about that later. So first things first, the Prosperity Project is brought to you by the Canva Crash Course. Am I pointing in the right direction? Because the screen is reversed. It's brought to you by the Canva Crash Course. All of my opening and closing graphics, including this graphic that you're looking at right now, created by myself in Canva. And I know a lot of folks are saying, hey, I've been meaning to check that out. Or, you know what, I'm in it. I don't understand it. I'm still struggling with it a little bit. I've been wanting to use it. I have a business. Listen, if you're trying to create a business, if you're trying to create a work from home hustle, or if you're trying to add a skill to your portfolio so that you can monetize yourself, Canva is always where you start. So it's the secret behind this show. It's behind my ebooks, all of my graphics, and many of the graphics that you see on the KBLX Facebook fan page. So it's always my first stop when I'm trying to create something new. Hey, let me get in Canva and create it. So it is a quick digital course that you can access. It's super affordable and you can master Canva in an afternoon. So check it out. The link is in the post above if you are interested in jumping in. Juanita in the building. Happy Thursday, my honey bun. So good to see you. So here's what we're going to do today. All right, so we have a powerful discussion with our guest expert. Today's show is all about travel, adventure, and entrepreneurship, and maybe expanding your worldview and embracing a fuller life. And the thing that's going to make this show a little bit different today is that I have one of my dear friends as a guest. I am going to try to act right, but I can't really make any promises. Because, it's certain people that I start kikiing with and I get like off track and unfocused a little bit. But hey, you're going to be along for the ride and we're going to have a whole lot of fun. Please welcome a travel enthusiast. He calls himself a global citizen and he is a food entrepreneur from my hometown, New Orleans, Louisiana. Please welcome Haston Gross from NOLA ACAI. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. It's good to have you. This is a serious forum.
Okay. I'm not a serious guy, but,
See, that's the problem. So not serious. It's so crazy. But yeah, you have some great things going on. And Prosperity Project is really all about sharing some of this good breakthrough energy with folks. And I'll tell you right now, folks, this is one of the folks I might have conversations about all the different aspects of life and, living life to the fullest. So I thought he had some great things to share with us. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Stacy Merritt says she's checking in to say hello. Yes, it's great to see you too, Juanita. All right, so let's start at the beginning. I know that you and I met, 25 years ago? And I know you were one of the
I'm still 38, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not going to make any comment about that. But I'm just going to tell facts, though. We met quite a while ago. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Let's not assign any numbers to it. Okay, so we met quite a while ago. But I remember you were one of the first people to say to me, I'm leaving New Orleans. Okay. I'm moving to LA. So, tell me when was the moment that you caught this bug that made you just get up and leave your hometown? Because I swear I talked to a whole lot of people of all ages, and it's almost like it's a big fear or it's a big block. How did it come upon you?
Right. That's a good question because I can't pinpoint a moment when I said I'm leaving New Orleans. It's a feeling that I've always had.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, I just got a
There you go.
incoming call. Sorry. It's a feeling that I've always had since I guess younger. It was just putting things into action and stuff like that. When I had an opportunity, I did it. And that was after graduating from college. So I was like, you know what? I really don't want to be here anymore. I actually wanted to go East Coast, but didn't really know anybody on the East Coast. I had two guys whom you know as well, living in LA in the music industry. I'm a chemist by trade, so I thought maybe I can go to LA, have some fun, maybe dabble in that industry for a minute. Which you know how that works out. Didn't turn out. So I fell back on my chemistry and ended up staying in LA. I think I was in LA 8 years. For 8 years, yeah. Worked as a chemist. Did some stuff. We can get into the whole story where I developed a small product line, cosmetic line, while I was in LA. So I always like, I need to do my own thing eventually. So, but I'll stop it there and let you ask some more questions about my life.
Okay. Yeah, and it's so this is actually a harder interview for me since I already know you.
Right.
I always tell people it's easy. The easiest interviews when you don't know anything about the other person and you always have a million questions. So it's like I can't forget to ask the question because I think everybody knows. Like, no, nobody knows this. So cosmetic line. And let me think about that because I that is the thing that I know about you, that you have an idea and you just jump on it. I don't know if I remember the cosmetic line, if I'm going to be honest. When was that?
Well, when I lived in LA, I worked for a laboratory that did testing on vitamins, And on my downtime, I experimented with different mixtures of oils like vitamin E and things of that nature. So I developed a really nice vitamin E topical oil, put on your body. A lot of women, let's say a couple of women that I know that were pregnant, they were using it for stretch marks. When they were pregnant, they would rub their belly with the oil. And, like after a baby, they were telling me, oh, you know what? Your oil worked beautifully. I had no stretch marks or minimum stretch marks after, I gave birth. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I did that. Also, our good friend, I don't know if you want me to drop names or anything like that.
I mean, you can if you want.
Well, our good friend Karim Zaman, Karim. So he got me a small contract with the city of Los Angeles to make sunscreen.
I never knew this. I never knew this.
No, I did. I did it. I did a first batch order. I did that. In fact, Karim is crazy. Karim, I spoke to him like probably several months ago, and you're like, you know what, man, you're still on LA's whatever docket for minority business to do sunscreen. I'm like, well, hook a brother up, dude. I'm back in the country.
Right. So. Okay, and let me fill folks in though. So now, actually, I met Karim before I met you.
Right.
Because
at the radio station, right?
Yes, because Karim was the first person to teach me or to train me on the board at the station. Right. And New Orleans is New Orleans, and then I met you some years later. But then you and Karim ended up in LA.
Yeah. He moved back, and then I moved and hooked up with him later on.
Yeah, the details are a blur at this point. Okay, so let's bring it all back together. So started all out in New Orleans, Louisiana. moved to LA for some years. And your energy has such a pace. I remember you went to LA. And again, that's how I remember. I remember I was sitting there with you and you said, "Hey, I'm moving to LA." And I said, "Really?" And I was like, "Wow." So for everybody who's watching this right now, there's always somebody who's in your circle that is an influence on you in whatever way. So when people say they popped up or they jumped up and just did it, you just jumped up and did it. I'm moving to LA, and it might have been a month later you were gone.
Yeah, I have a habit of that, doing
right,
spontaneously like that. Yeah.
But
I figure if you plan too much,
you think
you end up not doing it.
Right. There's a really good book called The 5-Second Rule, and it basically says your brain has 5 seconds before it will shut your idea down, and you start looking for excuses. So it's like after 5 seconds, you're supposed to move. So even before that book was even written, that's what you were doing. Hey, I'm leaving. Yeah. So
it makes sense, because that's how a lot of people get stuck in jobs, small towns, like we were talking before. People might want to get out of their small town, but they never do. They might have an idea to get out, and that 5-second rule comes through, and they're on to something else and stuck.
Well, and let me tell you something. It helps a little bit to be crazy. And I mean that quite literally, because I remember I hosted this one event, and there was a lady, well, really it was a board of people who were receiving awards. And every last woman who got up there, she said, "I had to be crazy at the time." So it's almost like it's a desire that's born in you that shuts down all logic and sensibility. And as a young person, we have a little more of it than we do as older people. But it's a great quality, because in your craziness, you really influenced a whole lot. Because when you started saying LA, and then I had another good friend who just up and moved to LA, I started thinking about California. And really, this is how I kind of ended up in the Bay, because this energy was swirling around.
Right. Around and you want to get away from the cold, right?
Oh, you mean from Buffalo?
Yeah.
See, we got to fill folks into these little stories and stuff we can drop in here.
Oh, we got too many stories. It'll be like 3-4 hours, probably.
I know we'll be here for a long time if we include everything. But yeah, but no, really, California was on the list before Buffalo, before I went to Buffalo. So it was like I was trying to get there eventually, and it just kind of happened. Okay, so some years in LA.
Yep.
And you were doing a great many things. I remember you have a cameo, should I say, in a very popular sitcom.
Yeah. That's when everybody thought I was out there to be an actor.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh my God, he's gone to LA and he's blown up. Oh my God, let me get myself together. So literally, that's what, every time you did something, I was like, oh God, let me get myself together. And I swear I never even saw. It was an episode of Martin that this young man is in. As soon as it got to LA, it seemed like you're like, oh, I'm on an episode of Martin. And if you watch it, it's, it's quite a few, it's not like a real quick thing where you blink, you miss it, there you are. So
I got called a couple of months, or messaged a couple of months. Like, did I see you in Martin? I'm like, yeah, that was, yeah.
It was you, but it was
ha ha ha, of course, ha ha ha, the whole thing. It
was enough though, bruh. It was enough. So, what I'm saying is that you can put all kind of great energy in a lot of people's lives by doing whatever the thing is. So what did it feel like to leave home? And I know you drove to LA, if I remember.
39 hours.
By yourself?
One time.
What made you do that? Were you just crazy?
I had a car. I was just ready to go.
But just driving the whole way by yourself, what made you just...
Who was I going to take with me?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, but like I said, you look back on things like, wow, I was really young and crazy when I did that thing. I don't know what I was thinking. But okay, here's my question before I forget. What did it feel like? Because I remember when I moved from New Orleans to Buffalo, I just did it. But when I got there, I was like, what have I done? Was there a little bit of a freak out when you got there? And
No, you know why? Because I got there and I hit the ground running. Moved in with Marlon and Rob. They're in the industry. Man, I'm going to industry parties every night.
mm-hmm.
I'm seeing people I only saw on TV. I'm driving down, Sepulveda Boulevard. I look to my right, my left. I'm seeing movie stars. So I'm like, yo, I'm in. I'm here.
The man.
I'm kicking it. Only after, I guess, you realize that the industry is not. I guess it is not. It's not forgiving, and it's not for everyone, should I say? And those, in my opinion, and those that more helps the least.
Mm.
And so I hadn't gone back into chemistry or anything. I mean, I was glad I had a degree and I had something I could easily fall back on. I had offers for jobs when I got out there, so I wasn't worried about that. But I wanted to have fun a little bit. I wanted to get out of chemistry, get out of the labs. I wanted to do something else, something fun. So when that wasn't panning out, and that's how I started doing, different stand-ins and not stand-ins, but extra work and stuff like that, because I was still not ready to get back into my trade, but just I wanted to have fun. You're in LA. You know what? You're gonna be cooped up in a lab 10 to 12 hours a day. That ain't fun.
Freedom.
Right, yeah. Right. So I but you know what I had an awakening, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, two things. I never wanted to be rich until I moved to LA.
Mm.
I've always wanted to be comfortable. I never really wanted to be rich, right? Secondly, I would walk, in the neighborhood we were living at the time was Sherman Oaks. I would walk and see homeless people and wonder about their stories. I mean, not just homeless men and women, homeless families with kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would wonder about their story. So many times I want to just sit down with them and ask about their stories. Because some of these people didn't. They just ended up that way because of loss of finances and stuff like that. It's not always a mental issue. So that's one thing that kind of brought me back to reality. Then I went back to get a goddamn job. Sorry, can I say that? And I started working. And so I got grounded. I guess I got grounded again in LA. I was still having fun. I was going out dancing salsa and doing my thing. Met a lot of cool people. It's interesting that most of my friends, other than my frat brothers, shout out to Kappa Alpha Psi, by the way. Other than my frat brothers, my friends in LA were transient. They were from other parts of the country, and I kind of gravitated towards them, and then friend of mine I would do salsa for a while. So after that, I got into, once again, our good friend, Kareem. Right. He's like the only guy I knew in LA at the time, right? So anyway, he introduced me to my friend Gary. You know Gary too, right? You met Gary,
yes.
Right? Gary and Zenoria. So he introduced me to Gary at it was at the Hollywood, not the Hollywood Bowl. Thinking maybe the convention center. It was a big Brazilian something going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he set me up. Because we all right with the audio?
Yeah, we're good. Something's coming.
Okay. So he set me up, and we were out in the main lobby area of it. It was a concert. That's what it was. Brazilian show or whatever. And there was this beautiful girl walking. Mm-hmm. Obviously she was Brazilian, and he was like, "Man, look at her, this and that." I'm like, "Yeah, she's bad, man, whatever." So she goes in. So we go in like, not right behind her, but close enough. And then she goes, and it's Gary's wife. So we get over there, and Karim goes, "Man, he was looking at your wife." You know, I'm like, "Dude, come on. You know, that's how you're gonna introduce me to this guy." But anyway, so make a long story short, Gary and Janora, they would have parties at their house. All of the women were Brazilian.
Right.
All of the men were American men, you know,
Right.
Gary's friends and stuff like that. And you'd be singing and dancing and, you know, drinking and stuff like that. So I was like, okay. And then Karim had gone to Brazil for Carnival. I think it was 2000, right? And he was like, "Oh man, you gotta go to Brazil. You gotta go to Brazil." I'm like, whatever, you know, set it up. I'll go. I'm in, whatever. So the next year I went, you know, and lost my mind, lost my
And that
freaking
was all she wrote. Yeah.
yeah, I lost my mind. Yep. Yep. And but I wanted to go back and learn more about the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to learn the language. You know, at that particular moment I didn't know how I was gonna do it. I know one thing, I was tired of my damn job. I knew, you know, when every day felt like Monday to me, I knew I had to go. I know it was time to leave. So
Mm-hmm.
I prepared for that. I had a townhome in Sylmar. I sold it. I quit my job. This was in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say moved to Brazil. I went to Brazil. I had already been gone since 2001, right? Like twice a year, sometimes three times a year. But this particular year, I quit my job, sold my home, quit my job. And I wanted to go and be there, you know, hang out for a few months, go back to the States, make some money, go back and do that back and forth thing. The year of 2004, I got there. Me and a Brazilian friend of mine walking down the beach in Copacabana, and there's a string of kiosks along the beach. You know, they sell anything from anywhere from coconut water in the coconut, not in the can or
Right. Right.
bottle, in the coconut. You crack it open and you drink it. To you know, beer, whatever, sodas, and you know, some foods and stuff like that. So we happened to sit at one, and we talked to the owner, and she was selling. She was interested in selling. She had lived in Germany for a while. She wanted to go back to Germany to live. So my nature is what?
Yep. You jumped on it.
I jumped. I bought the damn kiosk. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, so there's a lot of themes that are popping up for
We
me.
got a lot. I got stories. You know that.
I know there's so many, it's so many.
I got stories.
But the thing is, a lot of times we look at our jobs as security,
Right.
right? And we think that the other way of doing things is the hard way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But I feel like that's a trick we play in our own heads, that, you know, our lives can't be full of this freedom that you're talking about. And what I see is you making a way every time. You
It's
know,
what we taught. It was what we taught since a kid. You know, you grow up, you go to college, you graduate, you get a good job,
mm-hmm,
working for someone else.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
you know.
And so that's my point. So like the whole time I'm watching you and my other friend who's in LA, who, you know, went to LA, was super successful. My other friend Arthur. I felt like I was trying to do both at the same time. And I insert my story in here just to show you all the different layers and all the different ways you can arrive at certain points. So it's like, okay, I want to go, because I know my parents, it was the lecture. You know how you
Right.
have certain memories fused in your head? It was both my parents looking at me saying, but what are you going to fall back on? What are you going to do? You
Right.
can't just go anywhere. And I was like, well, I want to go to LA. I want to go this place. Um, the desire is going to make a way. If I can just say it in one sentence, your desire will make a way. You know, a lot of people say, hey, if God gives this desire to you, he's going to make a way for it to happen. So I like to put stories like this out there to folks so that they know it's not impossible. That, you know, oh, but money, listen, you create your own money. I saw something the other day. It's like, what do you call it when the letters line up? My own natural energy yield. That's what money is. So what kind of energy you're putting out. So this is what you wanted and it all worked out for you. So long story short, you end up in Brazil. You buy a kiosk in Brazil
Yep.
to, this is your business. It's, your creation and you support yourself this way. And the part of the culture of Brazil, and I remember, you start saying the word acai to me years and years ago. And,
Right.
and I'm telling other people, like, what language is that you're speaking? What are you talking about? So tell us about acai and what that is and how you came across that.
Well, acai. Well, first of all, it's a berry, right? It's a really deep purple berry, and it grows on a palm tree of um, trees in South America, not in only Brazil, but also Peru and places like that. But it's flourished in Brazil as a food source. Up north, they eat it just blended, so it's no sweeteners at all added to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the consistency, it's kind of like mashed potatoes, I guess, are a little less rigid than mashed potatoes for them. So they just eat it alongside with their meals. Rio, Bahia, places like that, Sao Paulo, they make it kind of a more like a breakfast or a dessert type thing. They add fruit, granola. It's a little sweet. It's sweetened with Brazilian syrup in most cases. But the health benefits of it is just through the roof. It's probably the healthiest berry in the world. It has omega acid, fatty acids, 3, 6, and 9. Things you might normally get in avocados, fish. The fish oil that you take. You take that because of the omega 9 fatty acids. But this berry has all 3. Well, there's actually other ones, but he has 3, 3, 6, and 9. So it's a very, very healthy berry. It has a lot of fiber, so it helps, with keeping your intestines clean. It has a little protein as well, but it's also high in antioxidants. Particularly it's the color. Dark fruits and colorful fruits like that are very high in antioxidants. So it helps, fights free radicals in the body. That helps aging and stuff like that. And I don't know, it could be coincidental. I mean, the other day I was just feeling like I had like a stomach ache or something. I don't ever feel anything like that. But I also had the freeze pop. So I just ate on the freeze pop, man, and my stomach was good.
Right.
Like, all right, maybe I want to test this out. Maybe it's
Think
stuff
about
like that.
that, like actually eating nutritious things every day. You know what I mean? And not having some of the ailments that we usually have. So it's like a way of life in a lot of places, except for here in the United States.
Yeah.
And then we turn around and say, oh, it's so hard to make a lifestyle change. It's like, well, yeah, nobody's living that lifestyle. Or not enough people are living the lifestyle. Things are better now, but it's like it has to be this whole big crazy push into doing healthy stuff and eating healthy stuff for your body. Okay, so acai.
Right, yeah, right. So so back to acai. So now, make a comparison. Here in New Orleans, snowballs. The rest of the country, shaved ice. There's one on every corner in Rio and a lot of other cities in Brazil. And it's something that's year round. It's not seasonal. It's year round they eat it. And the thing is, it's very healthy. You have to be careful what you put on top of it.
Right.
You have to be careful of the toppings, because even in Brazil, it's the way they put a lot of sweeteners on it, so it's very sweet. And when I decided to do it here in New Orleans, I toned down that sweetness a lot. First of all, here in the ones I've tasted in here, in my opinion, they made something healthy. They tried to make something healthy too healthy, right? I'm not into the chia seeds and the almond milk, and
It's
You'll
like a
never find that in Brazil. You'll
fusion,
never
some
find
kind of acai New Orleans fusion or health fusion or something.
it's closer to Brazil than it is to anything here in the United States.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, it's closer. I try to keep it as authentic as possible. Naturally, our palate is a little bit different than Brazilians' palate, but as far as the sweetener is concerned, I don't put it as sweet. And I offer toppings. You know, you can get healthy toppings and you can get some bad toppings. You know, we love our condensed milk here in New Orleans, so
Well, yeah.
I added things like that. You know, but it's here I had to tweak it a little, and I actually, you know, it's my own formula, so I worked on a recipe for a while,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to make it. And then I got all my friends to test and tell me. And my daughter is my biggest critic, right? Because she's from Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
and she loves my acai. She likes it better than the ones in Brazil. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
feel good. I feel good about it.
So let's fill in the blanks there. So in acai, not in acai, in Brazil, and where can we pick up this story? So your daughter born in Brazil, right?
Uh-huh.
And you come back to New Orleans, where you are right now.
Right.
In New Orleans. In New Orleans. And you want to bring the acai to your hometown. So full circle.
Well, this is the thing. If you don't have to, don't try and reinvent the wheel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? You can make improvements, like I did.
Mm-hmm.
Look, let me tell you, because I was in Brazil a long time, right? I had the idea. I can almost guarantee I had the idea of bringing acai, maybe not acai as a dish, as a bowl to New Orleans, or not to New Orleans, to the U.S., but in vitamin form. Once again, thinking back, I worked in a vitamin company as a chemist for a long time. There was no, when I was living in LA, there was no sign of acai whatsoever. Mm-hmm. After I traveled to Rio and all these ideas, you start seeing acai pop up in LA. You know, Samba, whatever the brand name is. And then you start seeing encapsulated in vitamins. I'm like, man, had I had money or investors, or had I known how to get investors back then, I could have cornered that market.
Right.
Because I still have a pituitary blend that's still not out there, that I will eventually get out in the market.
But it's a good thing though, because it's almost like you let other people do the dirty work of introducing it, getting people familiar with it, and then you kind of swoop in there and say, hey, you know the benefits, here it is. And the other part that I love is that it's like your whole story is there in the history of when you say NOLA ACAI, you know, you tell your whole story about being born and raised in New Orleans, going to Brazil for a long time, coming back, and here it is. So it's like all of your experiences are there in your brand. So, you know, I know a lot of people are overthinking about what the brand or what they're supposed to do. It's like, this is you and your story. That's what it is. Yeah. So you made a decision to come back to the U.S. with your daughter.
Yeah, so, basically, it was basically to put her in school because, unfortunately, the educational system out there is not the greatest. So I came to New Orleans, so that tells you something.
Right. Okay, so you make another track. Let's go back home. Let's go back home, and probably a whole lot of things to put in place when you say, "Hey, I'm going to bring my daughter back. I'm going to put her in school," and you know, a whole lot.
Yeah, that opened a whole new can of worms with that whole deal, especially here in Louisiana. I don't know how it is in other cities or states. Here, I mean, it's just bureaucracy. It's just a lot of stuff, man. Unless, I didn't come back. I didn't have a whole lot of money to come back and pay $15,000 and $16,000 a year for, you know, tuition for my daughter to go to school. So I had to put her in public schools. So my thing is to find the best public school I can put her in, you know, stuff like that. So it was kind of I didn't know. I had no reference. You know, luckily I had some nice teacher friends and actually some principals I knew, and they were kind of guiding me a little bit on the steps to take to get her in school and stuff like that. So,
And see, the other thing that I'm hearing, you know, we always worry about the resources. We worry about money when we want to do something.
right.
But you know, abundance comes in so many forms. If you're saying, "Hey, I had some friends to guide me," that's abundance right there. If I had this person to let me know, that's a lot of abundance right there. Um, so again, it's almost like the desire is just will pull you forward if you just say yes to it.
Right.
You know, the stall is like if we have a burning desire and then we just sit there. That's a good way to go crazy. You know what I mean? And it's a good way to be unhappy. Okay, so back in New Orleans with your daughter, NOLA Açaí started to come together when? When did you know it was a real
Okay.
that was about
There's
to
a story behind it. So, NOLA Açaí or Açaí wasn't my first idea.
Okay, that sounds right. Yeah.
It wasn't my first idea. I decided on NOLA Açaí because it was the simplest idea and the easiest to do. There's some other things I'm going to eventually do as well. But NOLA Açaí came about because I was like, yo, I'm not going back to corporate. I'm not going back to the labs. So I need to find out. I need to figure it out. So I tell you, like you said, I don't know, destiny or, yeah, I don't know what you call it. But there was actually, he's my friend now. This guy Keith, right? The guy who sold me the van, my NOLA Açaí van, right? He was, and I was looking, not seriously looking, but when I thought about doing an Açaí, I knew I wanted to do, I had looked at some storefronts, and I'm like, man, it's gonna probably cost an arm and a leg for, rent for storefront stuff like that. So I started looking at, like food trucks and stuff. Then I'm like, I don't need that much space, so I need this. So I'm looking for a certain size and things of that nature. So I'm at a friend of mine's house near here, and we're out on his front porch, and we stand talking, whatever. And here comes this guy drives by in an ice cream van. Ice cream. It's a van, and he sells ice cream. He sells ice cream out of the back or whatever, out of the side window, or whatever. And I flagged him out. I flagged him down. I said, "Hey, you want to sell?" Just jokingly, "Hey, you want to sell your van?" He was like, "No. But I do have another one that I want to sell." And he said, "You want to see pictures?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" He showed me pictures. Lo and behold, it's the color of Açaí.
It was the Açaí van.
The freaking van is the color of Açaí.
It's
I was like, if this is not the universe speaking to me, I don't know what it is.
A sign. It's a sign.
So anyway,
wow.
So I bought it. Let me tag my man in. I bought the van from Keith. Then, he had it all. He had, the ice cream labels on it and all this other stuff. So now I got to get all that off. And what I want to do, I get it painted. Should I get a wrap? I went into all of that and, all of that stuff. So one of my homies, I give him a shout out to HL from Sly Fox Productions. He had already introduced me to this other brother, Wayne, a dope graffiti artist out of New York, right? This brother, it was part of the crew back in the days that were tagging doing that stuff in New York, with the subway trains and all that other, all those good things. And I had met Wayne out in Rio because they had going out, him and some other artists out there years and years ago to hook up with some Brazilian graffiti artists out there. So I had already met Wayne, and I'm like, okay. So my boy HL, he suggested, why don't you try to get Wayne, to paint your van, And after speaking to Wayne, it made more sense because to have my paint, it's like Picasso, have my van painted by this famous graffiti artist. It's a no-brainer. It adds to my backstory.
Right.
The price he did it for me for, he gave me the homeboy price. He flew down. He has family in ATL. Flew down, came and done it. Turned out beautifully. And I'm like, this is it. So that's how that happened. Trials and tribulations. I didn't do my total due diligence, so I had to do some modifications on the van inside and stuff like that. So, which is already done. But it turned out nice. I mean, we're in the July after Christmas, right? New Year's, freezing cold in New Orleans in the 30s.
Right.
And we're out there trying to paint the van, man. I'm like, dude, it's colder here than it is in New York right now. And we made it through, went through, and then of course I had to go with him on this little escapade of tagging in the city. So. But anyway, that was cool. So yeah.
Okay, so now, back hometown. Your daughter, your mom, beautiful family, and you have this great business. So what do you see as the next thing for you for NOLA Açaí? And because I know when a good idea drops in your head, you'll be on that one. But can you foresee anything in the near future that would be the next step or the ideal for you?
Well, there's no ideal, but I have a lot of steps. I got a lot of ideas. I got a lot of. Well, first of all, I'm hoping to grow NOLA Açaí, whereas I can get more mobile units and then storefronts. I mean, that's one thing. But then I have other endeavors on some other type of food and stuff like that. Some prime locations. In fact, we're in September already. I need to be making some phone calls. Some prime locations for some other foods and stuff like that. I mean, if I'm going to be in it, I might as well be in it. I might as well do it big, or as big as I can do it. One thing I love about being in my city, I know a lot of people. So, and things get done when you know people here. But right now, I mean, I believe me, and I don't want your viewers to think this is easy.
None of it
ain't easy. I've been broke, still broke. You know what I mean? You do what you do. One thing people say, "Oh no, you shouldn't have fear." No, have that fear. That fear drives you. That fear can drive you to not wanting to be in a situation you're in.
Yeah.
Fear is definitely for me, it's a driver. I mean, fear of being stuck, fear of being, like I said, go back to LA, talking to the people on, the homeless people on the street, wondering their stories. Fear for not wanting to be in that situation ever in my life, especially now with a kid. You know what I mean? So don't ever let anyone tell you don't be fearful of things. Sometimes fear is good. Have patience, I guess. I'm still dealing with the patience part because you want everything to just blow up and pop off right away.
Right.
I'm dealing with the patience part, but I noticed that things are picking up. More and more people are starting to know who I am, and I'm on Uber Eats. You can search for me at NOLA Açaí on Uber Eats. I have a 5-star rating because of the care I put into my product. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's a double-edged sword because I do it the way I think it should be done. Once I start hiring people, I'm hoping to be able to teach them the same thing, that craft and the love of it, to do it the same way. You know what I mean? That is the hard part. And the bigger you are, the worse it is because the more employees you have, of course.
Well, I'm so glad we're catching you at this particular time. Because we hear stories about people and their businesses and how they went from this to this, but the middle is really the most important part where you're grinding and working and getting your name out there. And I'm glad you said a few things. You were saying, you don't want anybody to think it's easy, But at the same time, there's a big difference between, hey, this is not easy. That doesn't mean that it's impossible either.
Right. It's a big difference. Hard and impossible, totally different.
Right.
Totally
You're supposed to be doing hard
totally
things.
Different. Totally different.
I didn't learn until I was an adult. It's like, hey, you can do these hard things.
That's
That's too hard, I'm gone. Or that's too uncomfortable, I'm gone. So
doing hard things builds character, So.
Yes, it does. And I read somewhere else that it's like, hey, successful people do one hard thing every morning. Mm-hmm. One challenge. You get in the plank and hold the plank for 2, but do something that is challenging to you every day. Mm-hmm. That's how you build your, character in the world and character within yourself.
Right.
But what I wrote down, I'm gonna tell you when when I start taking notes, that's when it's like, ooh, that's good. Talking about fears, because again, if we that was the one thing that's in my notes right here, conquering fears. But what you just said, I got to cross out the word conquer, because you don't ever really conquer fears.
Right.
You don't. So if anybody's into like a good book, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, the same lady who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. So she says the fear is always going to be there, but you put the fear in the back seat. Like, hey, you can come. You're not driving the car though. I'm driving. The fear gets in the back seat and you just have to carry it along with you. So making friends with that fear, because the desire is there for a reason and the fear is there for a reason.
Yep.
So, it's great that you shared all these pieces of yourself in your story. The people that are watching, all my folks, KBLX family and Nikki Thomas TV family and the Soul Tribe. This is what I always want to bring: the reality and the breakthroughs. And it's like, well, what would be the difference? What would be the difference between hard 9-to-5 hard, kind of rat race hard, or going for my dreams hard?
Right.
There really is, it's both, but at the end, the result, what are you going to get? You know what I mean? So, it's great, that I've been able to watch your journey and, support and see, see us go from crazy kids, because definitely crazy kids,
right.
we're only 25, but, last week when we were crazy kids,
right.
From crazy kids to,
crazy adults.
Yeah, crazy adults to parents, single parents.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just got to make it do what it do, So do you have a particular practice, a particular ritual or belief system or something that helps to ground you and help you push through? Because it's, because we talk about these things, they are hard things. And there are like times when perhaps you doubt yourself. Do you have a particular practice when you feel that way?
Well, I don't think I have a practice or anything like that. But what I always do, and I try to tell anybody I come in contact with, particularly of my daughter and Vonnie and even my mother, there's always someone in a worse situation than you're in. Mm-hmm. Always. Mm-hmm. So, some people are lucky to be born with a silver spoon in their mouth, golden spoon in their mouth. Mm-hmm. Others are born with one limb, no limbs. You're somewhere, in most cases, you're somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? So there's always someone in a worse situation than you in. And that is in itself, for me, keeps me going. I have nothing to complain about.
Right.
I have my health. I'm like, Time Magazine, 3rd best looking guy in the world. That type stuff, I'm good. Well, I had to say something crazy. You know me, so.
Yeah, I knew it would happen. I thought we were going to get through the whole interview without some craziness. The 3rd best was, so the top 2.
Yeah, I give it to those guys. I won't name anybody, but
you let Will get in there.
I let Will get in there, and maybe one more.
You'd be like, I'm number 3. Right. I'm number 3. But and if I could just share a little bit, you being a Pisces adventurer, that's the parts that I see in you. You have such great, they say the Pisces are dreamers.
Yeah,
And
I'm a dreamer for sure.
it's a great quality to have. So, if I could just, get mushy for a second, it's like that dreamer quality kind of just lit up a dreamer quality in me.
Mm.
As a friend, and I love that craziness. Another Pisces quality is the nuttiness. That's what they say about the Pisces. But it's a joy to have it in your
Right.
space, in your friends. I always say that if I say, "Hey, Haston, let's go to the moon," you'll be like, "Okay,"
Right.
So it's a great testament to have the great energy in my space. And thank you for coming and sharing a bit of this wonderful dreamer Pisces energy
Well, thank
with,
you.
the Nikki Thomas TV family. Did you want to share anything else with us? Oh, now before we go, I want you guys to follow him on Instagram at NOLA ACAI. So you see like the logo down there, NOLAACAI. Follow him on Instagram if you have any friends in New Orleans. If you have any friends that perhaps can support or collaborate or somehow pour into what NOLA Açaí is doing in New Orleans, please follow and like and share and go ahead and connect. Um, so yeah, again, so it's really more, and it was so hard for me to come up with like, what do we call today's show?
Right, right.
It's so many things, but it is really about not survival, because survival is the basic one, but it's just like unleashing your dreams and your desires on the world. I guess that's the best way I can
And
say.
adaptation too is important. You have to be able to adapt, because things change, so you have to be able to
Mhm.
adapt, yourself and your business to the environment that you're in. So,
Mhm.
and did we cover the pronunciation of acai?
Oh,
Acai. You look
we
at the
did.
little C cedilia. That's why it's like an S as opposed to
Yes.
ACAI, like a lot of people say.
Okay, yeah, let's bring it back for a second, folks.
ACAI.
Acai. Is that
Like,
correct?
okay, how do you pronounce Francois? Right? You're not gonna say Francois.
Frank Boyce. Frank.
Right, Cois, yeah, Cois, Francois, no, Francois, because of the S, C. Cedilia. So, and people in New
Acai.
Orleans should know that, But I think maybe the other ones on their menus, they leave off that C. Cedilia. They just have the C. So I
And
think
what do you call it? The little loopy thing on the
it's a
bottom?
C. Cedilia. That little squiggly line underneath the.
Right, right. I don't know if I ever knew that. I never knew that.
That's what I call it.
I took French, so the only thing I know is the accent grave with the
What do you call it? Well, that's in French too. What do you call it in French?
what the thing over the I.
No, the C with the little squiggly line.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's the only thing I know that has a name that I have retained in my head is the accent
Oh, okay.
grave. That's the only.
Yeah, Cecilia, and I don't know if it's in. I mean, it could. I don't know what language I'm speaking, but it could be French. It could be Portuguese. I don't know if it's called that in English, but
Ooh, ooh. See, and again, we could have a whole nother conversation about
we,
learning a whole nother language. Can
yeah.
can you tell us something in Portuguese?
Okay, você quer que eu fale? What do you want me to say?
Was that something dirty? What did you just say?
I just said, what do you want me to say?
Oh, okay. I don't know. Tell us to have a good evening or something like that.
Okay, gente, tenham boa tarde. That's it.
Keep going. Tell us something else.
You want me to talk? I have a conversation.
Kimberly says, thank you for the pronunciation.
Right. Thank you, Kimberly. You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're
acai.
welcome. You're welcome.
You learned so much.
It gets under my skin when people say ACAI.
Yeah, I used to just look. I was like, ugh. I didn't want to seem stuck up though, because you had told me to say acai many years ago, and I'm like, ugh, acai, you mean? So yeah, so this has been really great. And again, we could again have probably 5 or 6 more shows about all of the great energy that you have.
Not even my trials and tribulation while living in Brazil.
Oh, really? I probably don't know all of those.
No, you probably don't.
The ones I do know, it's like, oh, that's disturbing. So, what an adventure. I think when I think about you, I think about travel and adventure. And that's the two words, and that's the ones I put out there. Hometown, LA, Brazil, back to New Orleans, and bringing this whole great story with you. So we will continue to support. And
All right. Thank you.
I'm going to be in New Orleans, not, a few weeks from now, and we'll have to come and jump back on and show people, acai, the truck, how to, the toppings and all of the other good stuff. And we'll check back in and see what you're up to.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank your listener, your followers, your crew.
Everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
We didn't act up too bad. I was afraid that it would really go south.
I have a kind of a dressy shirt on, so I'm a little more professional.
I'll say, okay, good. I thought you were about to start taking your clothes off or something.
No.
On the prosperity.
Not on this one.
Woo, thank you so much, Haston Gross. NOLA ACAI, NOLAACAI.com, right? You have a website. And
you can actually order on the website too. So it all goes at the moment. It all goes through Uber Eats until I did mention that my van is being serviced, which I put it in right before the freaking storm. So that was delayed. So, but you can catch me on Uber Eats.
Okay, I'll share it with your New Orleans family, and we will talk to you again soon. NOLA ACAI, Haston Gross. Thank you so much.
Beijos. That's kisses. Beijos.
Ooh, it sounds good, whatever you just said. Thank you.